Hello, hello. Welcome back to EFT with Lucy. My name is Lucy, and I'm so happy that you are here. Today, we're going to be talking about what EFT tapping is and how to use it as a force for good in your life. I think this is going to be incredibly life-changing because EFT tapping is a really powerful tool when you know how to use it, because tools really only help us when we know why we're using it and when to use it. Otherwise, we can add it to our toolbox and not really know what to do with it, right? So I also wanted to start off this video by saying that EFT tapping is a really powerful tool. It's not the only tool out here for self-care and stress relief. However, I do think it is an important one to have in your toolbox because it can do a lot of heavy lifting. And I've used it in my own life when I don't really know what else to turn to. It really helps me to find clarity and to find peace. And I hope it does the same for you. So in this video, we're going to talk about what EFT tapping is, why it works in your body, and when to use it in your life. I'm going to give you two different places to use it in your life to see change and transformation. So, what is EFT tapping? EFT tapping, or emotional freedom technique, is basically a stress relief technique that was adapted from acupuncture and morphed into something else called thought field therapy, which is a lot more algorithmic than EFT tapping, and now has come into EFT tapping, or emotional freedom technique, because as the name might suggest, it really helps to create emotional freedom. It can really change how we feel about a situation. But I'm going to give you my little framework on how to use tapping a little bit later. All that you need to know is that it is a stress relief technique, yes, and even more than that, it's a somatic healing modality, which means it can heal our body. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of not having your mind and your body on the same page. And what I mean by that is saying, oh, I really intend to do this thing, and yet I can't seem to do it. Or I really don't want to feel this way, and yet I'm feeling this way, right? For anybody who is a rationalizer or lives in their head a lot, like I do, it's really easy to feel like sometimes our brain and our body are not on the same page. It's kind of like how you can't tell someone with depression, just be happy, or someone with anxiety, just don't worry about it, right? There's a lot more going on under the surface that sometimes feels hard to speak to. But the beauty about tapping is that it's a tool that can really speak to that part of our body that we can't really see and we can't really understand. It's like, I don't understand why I'm sad, or I don't understand why this is happening. Tapping is a tool that we can use to really speak to that part of our body that helps our logical mind and our psyche and our nervous system to get on the same page. The reason why it's an excellent stress relief technique is because as something comes up that dysregulates our nervous system, we're providing a calming sensation to our body that helps our brain and our nervous system say, hey, we are safe. Maybe we can start to look at the situation in a different way. So as we're providing a calming sensation to our body, our brain starts to change and rewire, which is beautiful if we want to learn how to calm down in a certain situation or de-stress or change different patterns that we might be experiencing that are really holding us back. So what do we actually use tapping on? I like to break it down into three different areas, right? So thinking about our mind, our heart, and our body, right? So we can use tapping on thoughts or mental patterns that we might be experiencing. We can also use tapping on emotions or feelings, our heart, and we can use it for body sensations like pain or something like that, or behaviors and activities that our body does, right? So again, mind, so thoughts, feelings, emotions, and sensations or behaviors and actions that we take. And when it comes to tapping, what we can do in those areas are either turn down the intensity of an emotion, right? So if we're really stressed or we're really afraid or really angry, whatever emotion or thought that we might be experiencing, we can like take the little volume dial and turn it down, right? So we can turn down the intensity of something. We can clear. So if we want to clear an emotion, clear a thought, if we want to clear a feeling or sensation that we might be having, that's something that we can use tapping for. And we can also use tapping to call in something or just transmute something. So if we're feeling like we have a really strong limiting belief that we want to really get rid of, we can clear that limiting belief and call something new in, right? That's by no means the extent of what we can use tapping for, but I think it kind of helps to give an idea of what can we use tapping for, right? So if we have this continual thought or negative or critical mind chatter, right, we can start to quiet that chatter. We can turn down those thoughts and replace them with something new. Or again, if we're feeling really stressed or feeling really sad or something like that, we can tap on that emotion that we're experiencing and turn down the intensity of it so that we can start to process it and feel better. Tapping is often used for things like pain. I've used it very successfully with GI symptoms like nausea, or like period cramps or headaches, right? So different physical sensations, but we can also use it for different behaviors, right? So if you find that you have a habit of procrastinating, or I use it sometimes for texting people back if I have resistance to it or something like that. So there's different areas in our life that we can use tapping for. It really just takes some creativity and also mindfulness to know, what am I experiencing that is not what I want to be experiencing, right? And is there something that's uncomfortable, unpleasant, or something that's just like not constructive to my life, that's really not fitting in my life right now that I really want to change? So when do we actually use tapping in our day-to-day? So I'm going to give you 2 different ways that you can use tapping in your day-to-day life. The first is simply reactionary. EFT tapping is a great stress relief technique for a reason. So if you find that you're getting stressed throughout the day, or some one-off thing happens that you're either, again, really stressed about, or you're really nervous about a presentation at work, or you find out something really upsetting happened and you need to tap through those emotions. Again, anytime that you're going through your day and you're finding that you're getting some sort of really elevated emotional state, or maybe some really loud brain chatter, whether it's around food or worry thoughts or something entirely different, or there's a behavior or, again, some sort of painful experience that's coming up that you really want to change. So you can use tapping in a reactionary way. Basically, tapping is a beautiful mindfulness technique as well, because the way that you do it is you just say, I'm really stressed. I'm really stressed. I'm really stressed. I'm really stressed. I don't want to be stressed, but here I am. I'm stressed, right? So that's the beautiful part about tapping, is it kind of forces you to have a little bit of mindfulness. So again, the first part is using tapping as a reactionary stress relief tool. Again, I've used tapping in the places where I just don't really know what else to do, or it's something that can help me get through that resistance of like, ugh, I feel really elevated, I need to go on a walk right now. Sometimes tapping is the thing that helps me actually do the thing that is best for me when I have some resistance to it. So the same way that you might brush your teeth every day instead of waiting to get a cavity to start brushing your teeth, we can use tapping proactively. So this takes a little bit of mindfulness to know if you're striving towards a goal, and if you are coming up upon patterns that are stopping you, or obstacles that are stopping you towards that goal, or again, you're finding yourself in patterns in your life that you really want to change. So whether it's a pattern of mindset, whether it's feelings or reactions towards something. So maybe you find that you have to use tapping as a reactive self-care tool, right? Because you start getting really stressed about work. We can start to say, okay, what is it about this pattern that is making me stressed about work? Or for instance, if you are working on improving your finances, but you're having a lot of resistance to actually logging in and checking your bank account on a regular basis because maybe you have anxiety about it, or you're feeling a lot of scarcity, or whatever it is, we can start to identify what your blockages are and what's coming up in those patterns and how you want to change it. Or if it's something around health and you have a lot of resistance to going to bed at a certain time, maybe I'm calling myself out on this a little bit, we can start to identify the pattern. Like, is there something scheduling wise that needs to change? Is there something in your habit that needs to change? If you find yourself having a pattern in your life or a habit in your life that you want to change, tapping is an excellent tool to say, okay, how am I feeling about this? Am I feeling ashamed about this pattern? Am I feeling frustrated at this pattern? What is it that's really coming up for me when I think about changing it? Can I actually envision what I want to be doing instead of what has been happening? So there's a lot of different ways that we can start to use tapping, that we can use tapping as a proactive measure, right? Or maybe you just want to set your energy at the beginning of the day to feel grateful, to feel like yourself, to feel courageous, or whatever, again, helps you feel like your authentic, centered, grounded self as you tackle the day. Or maybe you want to, or maybe you had a really big day at the end of the night and you just want to use it as a nice nighttime routine to help you release all the things that happen throughout the day, acknowledge your feelings, acknowledge any lessons or gratitudes that you've taken away from the day, and signal to yourself that it's time to sleep. So again, we can use it as a reactionary tool to help us react to anything that's come up in our lives, or as a proactive way to help, or as a proactive tool to help us break patterns, to help us just clear our energy and feel like we can tackle life as our best self, and reminding ourselves of what we need in order to have that happen. A question I often get is, how often should I be tapping? And there's really no right or wrong answer. But I would say you can't tap too often. The only thing you can do is not use it as the tool that it is, right? And sometimes we can go through our life. I see this a lot and I feel this a lot in my life. I'm like, oh, I just don't want to do the thing that's good for me. I just need to wallow in this feeling for a little bit. And that's fine, right? But sometimes we just need to remember that we do have this amazing tool at our fingertips to help us move through whatever funk we're going through, to help us get on a better path. So you could tap 1 time a day. You could tap 5 times a day if you need to. You could tap 5 times a year if you want to as well. It doesn't really matter, again. But if you find that you are having obstacles towards pursuing a goal or something like that, then maybe it's an indicator that you could be using tapping a little bit more often in your life. I will say, when we start to bring on a new skill, it takes a little while to remember that it's even available, right? So you might be watching this video, and then the next time you start to get really stressed out, you might forget that this is even an option that you have to help take care of that stress, right? So sometimes we just have to remind ourselves that this is a tool that is available to us, and you might want to work it into a daily routine that you have, just incorporating 5 minutes or 2 minutes of tapping at the beginning of the day before you even brush your teeth, or maybe at the end of the day when you climb into bed, or maybe you want to have a little midday check-in with yourself that you at your lunch tap or something like that. As I've worked with people on food coaching throughout my years, I used to encourage my clients to have a pre-meal tapping routine or a post-meal tapping routine if that's something that helped them. So there's really no right or wrong. Just like any tool, it has to work for you in your life. I can't really tell you what that is, only you can know, but you will know what feels best for you. The only thing I would say is it is an energetic practice. So if you tap often, you might find that you're really tired at the end of the night, and it is important to make sure that you're drinking water, because as we're tapping things, it's important for our body to release all the things that we're moving around. So I hope this answers all of your questions, but if you do have any more questions, please let me know in the comments below. I love answering your questions. I just wanted to make sure that I explained what tapping is and how you can actually use it in your life, because you really can tap on your own and create so much beautiful change in your life so that you can feel like your best self moving through your life, because I think we all really deserve that. I will be back with another guided tapping next week, but in the meantime, try tapping with one of these videos, and I'll see you in the next video.